All right, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for attending this focused discussion. These are getting a little more and more exciting. We're trying to host these because the way one of you put it, you're spending time staring at walls. So we're trying to make that more efficient for you, maybe give you something to look forward to, and also replace the things we cannot do right now. That being said, we are, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, went with no issues when we introduced the topic for the year. One issue I do recall is I forgot to introduce myself. I am Lewis Elliott. Yeah, so what we're doing this week, we are still live on GoToMeeting, which is where I believe all of you are attending right now. We are also streaming live on YouTube. It's our first time doing that, so if anybody doing that, go ahead and let us know. All right, that being said, we have a instructor this week who's one of those double nationals that some of you hear about from time to time. Aren't many of them around. Cindy Elliott is a AOISO national coach, a national referee, and holds a whole number of other accolades. So it's good to have a mixed perspective from her. And that being said, I will allow her to take it from here. Thank you, Cindy.
All right. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, everybody. So tonight's discussion, we're going to continue on our topic for the season that was introduced 2 weeks ago by Lewis was that a good idea? And those type of questions come up to thinking referees because we're working in gray areas. So I wanted to tonight talk about how to think through those gray areas, and then we'll jump into some scenarios to kind of put it to practice, and hopefully it'll lead to some lively discussions. Oops, the control's not working. Not good. Well, I can work it that way. Okay, I'll make it work. So the philosophy of football is included in the laws of the game. And I've got a couple of quotes here out of the laws. So just so you can know the tie-in, that we're not just doing something special. We're going to be discussing what the laws of the game are asking us to do. And so I'm going to make sure we always tie back to the laws of the game. So in the beginning of the laws of the game book, discuss about the philosophy and the spirit of football. And I'm just going to read it to you here. It says, football must have laws which keep the game fair, as a crucial foundation of the beauty of the beautiful game is its fairness. This is a vital feature of spirit of the game. And then the law book goes on in Law 3, when it's given the referee definitions, and it says, decisions will be made to the best of the referee's ability according to the laws of the game and the spirit of the game, and will be based on the opinion of the referee, who has the discretion to take appropriate action within the framework of the laws of the game. And then a little bit further on, at the back of the current law book, where it has practical guidelines for match officials, it goes on to discuss a little bit more in depth. And there it says, reference is made in Law 5 to referees operating within the framework of the laws of the game and the spirit of the game. Referees are expected to use common sense and to apply the spirit of the game when applying the laws of the game. This is especially true for the lower levels of football, where it may not always be possible for the law to be strictly applied. So that gives us our foundation for what we're going to be talking about. Oh, my controls are working now. The important thing to remember when we're talking about how to show discretion, how to make decisions, how to make these judgments is fundamentally the game is for the players. And thinking referees adjust their management. So let's open up the discussion here, and I'd like to hear from you guys. What are different criteria that the referee uses to adjust their management of the game?
So this is Miller. I would think one would be just the skill level of the players.
Okay, very good.
Prior, yeah, I would just say if you if you have prior knowledge of the game, I mean of the game of the teams, and maybe there's some history there. You might, if you have that, you might go into it with a slightly different mindset.
Age of the player will play a role, you know, and as well as their physical and mental, emotional maturity.
This is Bob. One of the other things I think.
Did we lose Bob?
No, you
This is
got
Bob again. All right,
Oh,
I'm going to try that again. I'm not technically savvy. The gender plays into it as well because there are different styles.
Okay.
Hi, this is Garth. The temperature of the match.
Okay, very good.
This is Charlie. Hi, everybody.
Okay, go ahead.
Just the level of competition, club versus AYSO, different club levels, along with the age of the players, which I think was already mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we mentioned age and gender.
Oh. And I just wanted to hear myself to make sure I was on the meeting.
Coming through loud and
Sorry.
clear.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so to kind of sum it up, I think you guys all seem to have a very good grasp of this, but what we want to keep in mind when we're making these evaluations is we want to deliver what the players need. And the need is not absolute or unchanging. It might evolve during the game, and the referee really has the challenge to keep their thought process going and current with the game as the conditions change. Maybe frustration levels, maybe it's a hot day, maybe the score gets unbalanced. Factors can change during the game. So you're going to base your decisions based on these players, these conditions, and this game. Now, to oppose that with the book referee, the book referee I'm going to be referring to a lot this evening, that's the referee who does everything without gray areas. Everything is black and white. They apply the laws strictly. No gray areas allowed. And that really limits a referee's options and can really lead to problems with management. So let's talk more about how we guide those decisions. So we want to do what is fair in the context of the game. You saw in the documents, the quotes I pulled from the laws of the game. They all refer to fairness, and that's an integral part of the game. So you have to then interpret fairness in terms of the context of this game. What's going on right now? What do I need to do to be fair? You need to make sure you don't give the players what they can't handle. And this refers back to flow and control. I'm sure most of you have heard of that, and I think a couple weeks ago when we did the previous discussion, we talked a little bit about that. We've got to be aware that sometimes the players need the control because they can't handle the flow in the current situation. So we need to be aware of that. what factors can you tell from during the game that tell you that the players can't handle what you're giving them? What is your means of making that evaluation?
Frustration, as exhibited by facial expressions or verbal from the players.
Okay.
Yes, this is Chris. The players may talk to you or ask you to change the tempo.
Okay, so you're going to see expressions of frustration, verbal. They might come out and ask you, to change it. So yeah, you're going to get feedback from the players, and you need to be aware to look for those feedback signals. And then another important factor is communicating your decisions. This is important because the players need to understand what you're doing. They might have a situation where they wanted a handball call, for instance, and you don't call it. You can easily put them at ease and let them know how you're making your decisions. If you communicate with them verbally, talk to them, let them know the decision that you're making, that yes, you did see what happened. How many of you have run into problems when you don't communicate decisions? Somebody want to give us an example?
Let's say, this is Roy, by the way, letting play continue, having seen a foul, if you intended to, when your intention was to play advantage, but you didn't communicate your decision clearly. So it can be perceived, it probably will be perceived as either you didn't see it or you saw it and, you didn't think much of it. More than likely people, will be upset.
This is Charlie. I've got one. If you're not communicating with the players, they may turn to each other and or the coach on the sideline and ask for interpretation of what just happened or what wasn't called. And this could lead to distraction. And the coach may call something incorrect or offer an opinion in their favor and to the detriment of the referee or the opposing team. So you tend to lose control if you don't communicate, and somebody else may take over from the sideline.
This is Miller. I'll offer an example from this last season. So throughout high school season, we a great season. We went into playoffs, and we saw some pretty amazing teams. And what I found in looking back on many of the games is the players came in with an expectation of a certain level of play or a certain style of officiating coming into the game, which obviously as referees or as ARs, we could not read. And so it was very important, as we found out, just looking back on it, that the communication of that consistency of call, that consistency of what boundaries you are setting, specifically as a referee, was really important to align the player expectations with the expectations of how we were officiating the game together.
Thank you. Those are really good examples. So even if you make very good decisions, well thought through and fair decisions, if you're not communicating your intentions to the players, you can not gain any benefit from that. So that communication is going to be very important. And then keep in mind that you don't want to interfere with legitimate playing tactics. So it's important for you to understand the laws and not overstep what the laws allow you or intend for you to control. Okay, so now let's practice thinking like a referee, makes good decisions with some scenarios that reveal these gray areas that we have to look at. So let's step into our first scenario. So our first scenario is a boys 16U match, and we're in the first 5 minutes of the game. And I'm sorry, I don't have videos of all this, so you got to kind of paint the picture in your mind. Okay. A free kick is awarded in midfield. An opposing player plants himself 3 yards from the ball, hands crossed over his groin. Now I'm going to ask you, and we'll take turns letting people respond. What action will a book referee take? And on each of these scenarios, I'm going to ask you, first of all, what action will a book referee take? So who would like to offer a book referee answer to this situation?
Matt Redcard Alvarez will say that there would be an issue of a caution.
Okay. So the book referee is going to realize this is a cautionable offense and will issue a caution for this infraction. All right. Now, what action will a thinking referee take? Who wants to take this response?
A proactive ref, and what I've done in the older divisions is made sure during my pregame, which is very short, to the players and to the coaches that I would like them to respect that 10-yard distance during any free kick. And obviously, if I just might have to remind them during that opportunity, especially early in the game, but remind both teams that, hey, make sure we're respecting that distance, because that's what I'll ask of them in the pregame prior to the game even starting.
Okay. Who's got another? What are you going to do in the moment, Matt? Let's stay with you. What are you going to do in the moment? What are you going to do when this happens?
Make sure I'm proactive and obviously there with where the foul occurred and hopefully, seeing this happen before it even takes place, before the player even plants themselves. I've already instructed them that, hey, let's move back.
Right, you can anticipate their movement. You can see them getting in place, and you just immediately start to address it. Hey, player, back up, 10 yards. And you just preempt it. When you say what action will a book referee take, well, they'll book them, Tano. I mean, I've seen that happen, and you don't need to. It depends on how many times has it happened. Is this the first?
Well, this is in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Right. So, no, and I'm saying, is this, so you're looking at, has there been a free kick before? Have they done this? No. So they're trying to establish that they're going to do this for the rest of the game, and you can deter it right away with a strong word and move them off.
Okay. So going straight to a card here certainly could be justified, but you're probably buying yourself more problems later in the game. Then you have to be consistent. So does that mean every time that somebody isn't 10 yards away, you're going to give a yellow card? Or do you give them a certain amount of time to respond? So you've kind of put yourself in a corner where, to be consistent, you're going to be having to do a lot of cards that you might not really need to do to control the game.
I think it depends on the situation of the game, what the rest of the players are doing at the time. If you see that he's coming up there to delay the game so his team can get in position, then perhaps you might want to card him instead of just talk to him. Also, if you want the 10 yards and you take a couple steps toward the player to get him to back up, you should really blow your whistle, stop the game, at least in my opinion, and make sure the 10 yards are there. Have it more of a formal free kick.
But I'd only say 5 minutes into the game at midfield. I don't know, if I'm going to, I guess you could be within your rights to card them. I think you might, you pretty much set a marker there.
Right, you could.
But you got 85 more minutes to go.
Yeah, I think too, though, you can also use some body language with your hands and a signal of no more, that's enough, and get on with it.
So in this scenario, there's no indication that the player has refused to comply So let's assume they haven't refused to comply. Then you guys are suggesting the best approach is to walk them away, talk to them, as Bob threw in. You can make it a little bit more public with a gesture that you're not going to have this anymore. But really, by going to a caution at this point, you're really painting yourself in a corner and probably setting yourself up for problems. Anybody have anything else to throw in on this scenario?
So let me take a little, Cindy. This is Miller. Let me take a little bit different side to this. So there's a reason why a player does that, and what I try to understand is I try to put myself in the player's head to say, why would that player be doing it? Because first of all, I need to establish a relationship as a referee or as an AR with the field players. And the other thing is from a tactical piece, I'm trying to understand what's going on with the team. So I'm gleaning information from that, right? I understand what everybody's saying. Yes, it's against the book rules. And yes, agreed, it's not appropriate. It also, so first of all, understanding why they're doing it, if it's a tactical, it gleans me information where I can use that, because my guess is that pattern's going to continue through the game. And yes, I agree with everybody's statements that you have to address it immediately, right? Because obviously you need to set the boundaries in terms of what's appropriate. And in this case, this person's expectations are probably different than your expectations as a referee. So.
Yeah, good. And looking at this is, in our example here, it's a boys 16U match, and I agree with you, Miller. The first 5 minutes, they're evaluating you. They're going to see what your response is. If you have no response, then it's going to be difficult to manage free kicks closer to the goal later on. If you overreact, then you're putting yourself in a corner. So the key here is start building your relationship with the player, talk to the player, let them know that you're not going to tolerate it, but also start building that relationship with the players. All right, let's try another scenario. This one we got a little bit of PowerPoint animation here. The scenario we're going to have here is a corner kick. So the player A1, so we have 3 attackers and 3 defenders. The attackers are in red, A1's going to kick the ball. The referee is in an awesome position there. And let's see what happens. A2 takes a shot, it bounces off the post and goes to A3, or almost to A3, but the defender intercepts it. Let me go back and show you again. Ball is going to be shot on goal by A2, comes off the post to the defender. A3 moves into pressure. The defender passes the ball, kicks the ball to the goalkeeper, who then plays it with their hands. Let's go on and see what happens next. Referee blows the whistle. The team sets up. The referee puts their hand in the air for an indirect free kick. The team sets up immediately, grabs the ball, does a quick restart. A3 takes the shot, misses it over the goal line. The attackers retreat and the defenders go to get the ball. Everybody's getting ready to set up for a goal kick. What's the book referee going to do here?
Well, the first thing he's going to do is have that free kick retaken, because it was not taken from the proper place. And while he's digging that hole, he might as well remember where his car is.
Mm-hmm. All right, good. Because that free kick was not taken from the top of the goal area. It was taken from the spot where the goalkeeper played the ball. So the kick was not taken from the correct location. So according to the book, we're going to give him another shot at it. What do you guys think about that?
I would say the shot they had was really to their advantage, and I would go with the goal kick. I wouldn't give them another shot at it.
And what are some of the factors, Chris, that you're going to use to make that decision? What are you seeing on the field here?
Well,
Does
besides,
it look like the attackers have decided that they had their fair shot at it?
Are the players accepting the decision? Are the players, you know, when you move out and they're going to take that free kick, are the players arguing about it? Are they saying anything? I mean, obviously they think they got away with something and then they blew it. And so now you're, you know, if you correct it and pull it back, now the defenders may be aggrieved. You know, I mean, it's a shame you missed that, but you know, but if the ball had gone in the goal, there would have been a very different story there.
Okay, let's stick for a minute with this scenario, Keith. So what is telling you the players are accepting it?
The attackers are retreating outside the area. The defenders kind of pick up the ball and the attackers are moving away. At least this is what I'm saying here in this slide. So you don't see them surrounding the referee or arguing. They expect now a goal kick. So they're moving out of the area.
Good. So it's clear that the attackers think, well, we got our fair shot at it and we missed it. And like Bob said, if the referee wants to go by the book and say, no, you need to retake it, nobody is demanding that. Everybody's considering this is fair. We had a shot and we missed it. Does anybody have a different point of view on that? Would anybody have trouble letting this go? And if so, let us know why. What would you be thinking would be a reason not to let it go?
So if there was encroachment by the defending team on the IFK, you would have to make a decision if that created an advantage for the defenders that caused a miss kick or a inaccurate shot.
Okay, so right. So in this situation here, where they're going to take the free kick, they haven't even let. It's really quick. They haven't even let the defenders, you know, retreat off to the goal line or anything. So you say if the defender steps up and attempts to stop the shot, then we might have a situation where we want to say, okay, let's retake this, or would you step in at that point and stop the quick kick?
Both of which I'm going to have to say it depends, because there's a lot of things going on there. This is definitely a critical area, and this could be a match, basically a critical match decision, right? So so we have to get it right. That is at the end of the day, we have to get it right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Miller, and I would say yes, you would, because the problem here isn't that it goes. It's not a problem because they miss. The problem comes if that goes in the goal. Now you've allowed a kick from an not inappropriate, an illegal restart. I mean, and you've now got a real problem with the ball in the net. So I think if you have a chance to stop and actually do it correctly, you do, because then there's no ambiguity when the outcome. Well, there may be ambiguity, but not from the placement of the ball.
So does anybody have a different opinion then? So let's change the scenario. Let's say this shot goes in the goal. Is anybody going to let the goal stand? Do you feel the teams will feel like they've been treated fairly?
Cindy, please clarify that the ball hits a defender on the way into the goal, because it's an IFK, right?
Or hits another player.
Well, A2 passes to A3, let me play it. But just imagine the shot, instead of going wide, goes in the goal. So the indirect free kick was executed properly. So there's no reason why a goal shouldn't be allowed if it goes in the goal from terms of the indirect free kick. Okay. So A2 is going to kick it to A3, who's going to kick it into the goal. But the restart was at an inappropriate location. It should have been moved 6 yards from the goal line. So Keith is suggesting if that ball went in the goal instead of missing, that we should not let the goal stand. Anybody want to argue one way or the other on that?
I agree with Keith.
Same here.
And in most likelihood, the defenders are going to also step up and say, hey, that wasn't fair.
You could have them accepting it, but that doesn't matter. I mean, they might not know, but I think that is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. So for the good of the
players
game,
might not know, but I'm sure the coach would.
Oh, are you sure about that? I mean, he might, but I'm just saying it's irrelevant. I mean, that's not a proper goal. That goal should not stand.
Even if people didn't realize, what about the issue of fairness? What do you guys think about the issue of fairness?
Yeah, this would go back to communicating your decision. You know, if you're going to take away the goal, you know, have a good explanation, quick explanation of why it is, you know, you're taking away the goal, you know, and doing a retake on that free kick. That should be simple enough for everybody to understand.
Yeah,
I think that, I'm sorry, I think that, you know, as soon as it becomes apparent that that ball is not being moved back to the goal area line, I think that you must blow the whistle, you know, make sure that it gets back there so that you don't have this problem, so you don't have to deal with it. I think you have to be proactive with this.
Good. So you prevent the whole situation from evolving.
Yeah. I mean, because if it's apparent that it's not being moved back, it must be moved back.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's a decision that gets rid of all the gray area. It's pretty simple. You have to be extremely proactive and not let the kick occur in the first place. Any more discussion on this scenario? All right, let's move on to another scenario. Okay, this is a girls 14U match now, all right? The blue players have only average skills, but show that they like tricky stuff. Coach and spectators of blue team are vocal, really objecting to throw-in decisions. During an attack near midfield, a blue defender is beaten by an opponent who then deliberately trips her to stop the attack. All right, what's the book referee going to do here? Anybody want to offer some options?
There are quite a few options, anywhere from.
Let's say we're going by the book here.
Yes, you could. Well, a caution is one option. If it's denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity, a red card is another option. It depends on where on the field and what the situation is.
All right, so we have average skill level for girls 14U, and this is near midfield. So probably not a situation where we're going to be looking at an obvious goal scoring opportunity, probably.
Is the blue defender doing the tripping?
Yes. So a blue defender is beaten by an opponent who then deliberately trips her to stop the attack.
Are we still on by the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the book. We have a trip, so we're going to blow the whistle, right? Call the
Right.
foul? Okay.
Yes.
And if the trip was reckless, caution?
Caution.
Okay. What kind of reaction do you think you might get from the red player?
The red player? going to be upset that they were deliberately tripped. But if you caution, then they're probably going to calm down. If you award a foul, they might also be calmed down. I mean, it depends on, obviously, if it's reckless. Like you said, it all depends on level. I mean, we have a tactical foul here if they deliberately tripped them.
Oh.
So.
Right.
But what we don't know, what we don't know is whether or not Red retained control of the ball, and maybe this was an opportunity for advantage.
Let's say, yeah, could be. Let's say that the play stopped there. So we're doing some thinking here now. Keith just introduced, hey, now I've decided this is a tactical foul. Let's say you decide, you're thinking now, okay, you got a tactical foul. Somebody give me, what are you going to do as soon as you see this foul and you decide that's tactical? What are you going to do? How are you going to handle it?
Blow the whistle, signal for a foul, make it clear that this is not going to be a quick kick, possibly by positioning yourself, right over the ball, right? And then call over the blue defender that performed the trips, let them know that we deem their action, to be unsporting behavior, stopping a promising attack, and they're being cautioned for that. Display the yellow cards, book him. And that's pretty much it. Restart the game as soon as possible after that.
Okay, so we've sent a clear statement here. We've acted quickly and decisively when we have a tactical foul. We're going to step in, caution the player, let everyone know that we're not going to have this anymore, and probably going to, if it looks like there even might be an advantage, probably err on the side of not awarding advantage here in order to send a message right away. Near midfield, these are average players. But we're going to act quickly.
Yeah, I like that near midfield gives the opportunity that it's directly in front of the bench, be it the blue team or the opposing team. So either way, you can send a message or calm a situation by handling it firmly right there.
Or if there was an advantage, you can let the play out, and you can always come back to that caution after the fact.
Okay. So if you
have
do
an
allow
issue.
advantage, go ahead.
Part of the paragraph here says coach and spectators of the blue team are vocal, freely objecting to throw-in decisions. So there's a message that needs to be sent, and the call you make, the foul you call, has to be assertive. A warning to that player, and of course, if it's reckless, then pull the card out. But I think a warning has to be sent or shown to that player, and you have to be assertive about it so the coach and spectators see it too.
Okay, so this is a situation where you've got some context leading up here. The coaches and spectators are being vocal. They're objecting to trivial things, and you need to send a message here. So you're going to step in immediately, authoritatively, issue the caution, and let everyone know that this isn't going to happen in this game. No uncertain terms.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have a different approach they would use? All right, let's move on to another situation. This is the boys 18U, 35th minute, okay? So they've had some time. The game players are getting a little bit more tired. It's a physical match with skillful play on both sides, okay? Quite a few contact fouls so far, resulting in 2 verbal warnings but no cards. There's only been mild dissent. A high ball near midfield A red forward and a blue defender, focused intently on playing the ball, run toward each other at high speed while looking upward at the ball as it descends. Both players jump simultaneously to head the ball and collide, chest to chest, falling to the ground. Okay, what's the book answer here? Was there a foul?
No foul.
No foul, but potential injury. So at this point,
okay.
because of the high intensity, you're probably better off blowing the whistle, stopping the game, assessing the situation on the ground, see if you need to call coaches on either side, and also use that opportunity for everybody else to take a breather, relax a little bit, cool the situation down. But yeah, no foul. So.
Okay, so Roy's mentioned a couple of things, really good things right there. Stepping quickly, blow the whistle, look for injury. What are some other things you can do as well?
So this is Miller, just another comment. So it also depends on the level of play. So if you're playing a very high level skilled match at an 18U, I've seen chest to chest, and I'm going to pause and watch to see if that looks like there's an injury. And if a player stay down, I'll immediately blow the whistle and then let's have a look. But if it's chest to chest, both falling on the ground, and I see them both get up again, I'm gonna hold my glance towards that and then watch where the ball goes and see if we can keep playing, because I'm used to seeing that contact fouls. I'm used to playing at that level, and so that's okay because I've already established that level of what's appropriate and what's not in terms of contact fouls. So and with verbal warnings, of course, but so I'm gonna give it some time to progress. But my radar is, are there any injuries?
What does anybody else think? Let's get a few more opinions in here.
Yeah, I
They're
kind of
coming
agree.
at high speed.
I kind of agree with Miller. I mean, you want to take a moment. I mean, they go to the ground. It's boys 18. There might be an injury. I mean, you can quickly see if they're, are they getting up quickly? I mean, is one of them staying down, or both of them staying down? I mean, it's boys 18. I mean, they collide, they smash into each other, they get up, but you can pretty quickly assess. I mean, even if that ball goes away, I think you want to do that quickly, because somebody gets an advantage out of that, and then they're off to the races, and then you blow the whistle. Then you've kind of let the moment go. But I think you do want to quickly kind of assess if they're good with it.
Okay, good. So some key points here I've heard mentioned. You're going to blow your whistle quickly. And given this scenario, high speed collision in the air, they both fall to the ground. It's near midfield. Nobody's really going to have much of an advantage. Blow that whistle quickly. But in addition to blowing the whistle, you need to make your intentions clear to everybody very quickly, that you're checking for injuries. You're going to let the players know, are you okay? And let everybody know, I stopped the game to check for injuries. This keeps the players from getting agitated and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to get a foul, or I'm going to get a foul, okay? And you need to explain that to the players. I stopped for injury, I'm going to check on everybody. And right at that moment, then you can let everybody settle down. And then how are we going to restart the game?
It'll be a drop ball.
Okay, good. So you're going to make sure that you've communicated, you're stopping for the injury, you stopped it quickly, you showed concern for everybody, you're going to make sure everyone's okay, then you're going to have a drop ball. Would anybody handle this situation differently, or does anybody want to suggest different ways to handle it?
Just again on being, preemptive and preventative. As you see, players that are looking at the ball and they are, coming in high speed, it's always, at least my style is always to let him hear my voice, know that I'm there, know that I'm watching, simply saying, be careful, be smart. Sometimes that, takes a few miles per hour, from the speed that they're running at.
So
have you ever seen in a situation like this, one of the players get angry after the collision, or both of the players get angry?
Sometimes, you'll have players that will try to take advantage of the opportunity and try to convince you, that they deserve a foul. Which again, I think, given the circumstances, minute 35, fast pace, physical, couple of warnings already. Again, to me, my style, I think it's time for a breather for everybody. So it's a good opportunity to stop, even for a little while, and then just let everybody know it's okay. Let's continue, but let's be safe. We don't want any injuries.
Let me offer just one more comment on this. So we've been using the term straight up. So when you see a potential contact, I'm yelling straight up as a referee, seeing that a high ball is up there and you see two players coming in. So the idea of saying straight up, it means that as long as the players are going straight up the ball, that's going to be basically a fair play at that ball. And so, but if there's significant forward motion, it's very easy to say, hey, if one person came in harder, chest to chest, it's easy you've already established your rule of no forward momentum when you're going straight up for the ball, and it's easy to establish that standard and then have a conversation on that. So we tend to say straight up a lot when you get into that higher level of ball, as a reminder, saying, hey, watch out, players coming in, just watch the other and be considerate of the other players.
Okay, so you've been proactive leading up to try to prevent the situation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think when I see something like that, the two players colliding hard, and I deem it's no foul, I'm going to be vocal about it and let them know no foul. Even if they go down and they're on the ground, I'll keep an eye on them and then make sure that there is no injury. If I think there is, then I'll go ahead and blow the whistle. But I'll also keep in mind that I know the restart's going to be a drop ball. Who is going to take that? Because under the current rules or laws, the drop ball goes to the team of that last had control of the ball. So you could end up giving an advantage or not, one way or the other, doing that.
Well, it's at midfield, Chris. So it's not going to be a big deciding factor, however you decide to handle it.
Well, but the collision's at midfield, but is that where the ball is when you blow the whistle?
Yes. It's a high ball near midfield. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the important thing is we're going to act quickly, we're going to be decisive, we're going to preempt the players having an opportunity to get angry with each other, because we're going to step in immediately and vocally let them know we're concerned. Are they okay? Check on their safety, and that'll help diffuse the situation. Simply blowing the whistle isn't enough. We have to step in, we have to communicate that we're checking that the players are okay. Good, let's move on to another scenario. All right, we're on to the girls 18U, and we're approaching halftime. We have below average skill. It's a quiet, uneventful game. Some jostling as players challenge, but no direct free kick fouls have even been whistled, and there's no score yet. An attacker with the ball 5 yards outside the penalty area is knocked over by a hard, clumsy charge. The attacker gets up quickly and gets in the face of the defender, who fouls her, cursing. All right, what are we going to do here by the book? and then give us some other options.
Well, she's cursing.
Are we going to blow the whistle?
Blow the whistle, foul, and she cursed, and she used foul and abusive language, and she's got to go. That's the book. It is girls 18 though, and he was bashed over. So maybe you want to use. I mean, I'll stop there. Book, because that was your question.
How does this event that occurred, how does that relate? Look at the first paragraph we have here. What was going on in this game?
Nothing.
Nothing, right. And then all of a sudden this happens. So what are you thinking when you see this situation?
There might have been some behind the back type of things that the ref did not see.
Or it might just be
some things have been going unnoticed. What was that?
I just said, or it might have just been buffoonery because of the below average skill. I mean, we see this, but it's a girls' game, and you know how that can go. I mean, it could have been something behind that you didn't notice going on, especially because of the response.
It could have been something in a game the previous week.
This is Charlie. I'm focused on below average skill and then hard, clumsy charge. So my feeling is, well, I guess we could say all those what ifs, but at a basic level, it's just it's a hard foul, not necessarily intentional. Doesn't appear to be. You are blowing the whistle. You are stopping play. And you're getting between the players. You're I guess I'm moving on to the gray area. You're stepping in to break up that moment. And probably issuing a warning to both.
So you're going to talk to them both. That's yes. Important. Is it? No. Would you want to be thinking about, okay, what time are we at? We're approaching halftime. These are below average skill. There hasn't been much going on, a little bit of jostling, but not even a direct free kick foul. Right. Nobody's even scored yet. We're getting close to halftime. Could fatigue be a factor here?
It can be. I think that all that's really happened is this hard foul and the cursing. So I think stopping play, obviously calling the foul, stopping play, and warning both, saying we're not going to have that in this game. What's going on with the game? Is something you need to do right then and there. Just you don't want this carried on into the second half.
Okay. All right. So you act quickly. You stop. You get in between them. You talk firmly with both players. You give them warnings, and maybe caution them. What do you need to do next as a referee?
Well, one of the things I'm sorry. One of the things I think you might want to consider doing is, make that a real formal free kick to use up some time and take some air out of the game.
I agree with that.
You're giving the players time to de-escalate. What do you think you need to do in terms of flow and control in this game? All of a sudden, everybody's just kind of, daydreaming through this game, and then all of a sudden something different happened. What do you need to do different? What do you need to do in reaction as a referee?
Well, one thing you want to do is start looking at what you've been missing, because there is a real possibility that you've been missing a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I think it have.
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is Charlie. I'm going to talk to the ARs about that foul at halftime, and I'm going to ask them what else they saw in the first half. Just to get my bearings on this. Yeah.
Okay. Lewis, go ahead and give us your point.
Yeah, so I see that there's jostling as the player's challenge, and it's below average skill. If it's below average skill, they may not be accustomed to playing at this higher level where jostling is allowed. So I'd have to ask myself, normally maybe that's not normally a foul, an offense the way I call games, but maybe is this massive escalation and apparently instantaneous? Is that because of frustration? They need a tighter called game. Should there have been calls already? I'm seeing what I did leading up to this, and maybe could have influenced it to put the player in the state where this could occur.
Yeah, that's a good scenario to be going through the mind of the referee with this situation. Have I let this game get a little too loose? There's jostling. These are low-skilled players. But I haven't even whistled for one foul yet. Maybe I need to rein it in, or definitely I need to rein it in. The players just gave me a big wake-up call, right? So for the next couple of minutes, the referee needs to be very in tune with the game, needs to rein it in, not let so much flow, and pay close attention to what happens next. Everybody good with that?
And eject the player for
All right.
cursing. Oh, sorry. No, not that.
Possibly, or possibly caution.
Possibly. It might not be a good look.
All right. Scenario 6. All right, it's a hot day. Boys 16U. The attacker is bringing the ball down the left wing. About 2 yards outside the penalty area, the attacker drives a hard cross into a nearby defender's upper right arm in its natural position at his side, and it goes out over the goal line. The referee is close to play and immediately signals for a corner kick. The attacker turns to the referee, holds out his arm, points to it with his other hand, and says in a sarcastic tone, "What's this, ref?" All right, what are we going to have?
That's your arm. That's your arm.
The referee did make the right call, correct? According to the laws and what we're supposed to make a decision on a handball offense. They're close to play. They immediately signaled for a corner kick. They made a decisive decision. What else needs to happen here?
You need to talk to that player.
What are you going to tell him? What are you going to say, Garth?
I'm going to tell him that's a dissent, and he better cut it out.
I just explained the decision. So arm was in the natural position. There's no need to add fuel here. I think to the fire type of thing. I don't think we need to start making threats or anything like that. Simply say a hand was in the natural position. It's a corner kick. That's
I think I agree with that. You be firm in your. I mean, what's the reason you didn't call it? I mean, bottom line, that's not handling by the law. I mean, Armin's in the natural position, hit his arm. He's 2 yards. He's
just like we said. First thing in the session, just communicate the decision. That should be enough.
And
if the dissent continues, that's a different. If the conversation continues, then maybe there's a different story. But hopefully that nullifies it.
But I think it's also important to make sure, like when that actual ball hits that arm, that you're like, no foul.
There you go.
Very vocal early. So you already set that tone where that player isn't coming to you and saying, hey, what about this, ref? I mean, again, having that earlier involvement with the players, and then having it at that moment, I think it sells it in its own self.
Good
Yeah,
one.
that's
Exactly.
a good point.
The referee can prevent this from happening by vocalizing right away. And you're letting the players know how you're going to call the handball, and they don't have to react in this way. Because if you just immediately signal for corner kick and no other response, maybe the players think you didn't see it. Maybe the players think you don't know what a handball is. So that's why what Matt said, communicating to them,
Yep.
you call for the corner kick and you immediately communicate to them, not a deliberate handball, no foul.
No foul.
Okay.
Good one, Matt.
And when you do talk to that player, I think, Keith, man, you must be itching to get those cards out. You were saying, you know, talk to the player and, you know, maybe if the dissent continues. One thing to keep in mind is when you go to a player and initiate a conversation, try not to let it escalate into dissent because you initiated the conversation. So you want to be trying to use all of your de-escalation because you're trying to turn the situation into something positive. Let's be proactive in that way as well. All right.
No, that's
I'm gonna
Matt
move.
who's to get his cards out. That's not me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Keith. Yeah, it's right. It's red card, Matt.
I'm just trying to live in
All
the
right.
Victor and Alex age. Come on, give me a break.
All right, let's move on to another scenario. We're going just about up on time here with our hour, so let me move along. This will be our last scenario. So this is boys 14U again. The attacker's inside the penalty area, crosses the ball to a teammate who is onside. The goalkeeper tries to intercept the pass by diving, arms extended for the ball. There's a collision between the goalkeeper and a second attacker who is a step closer to the ball than the goalkeeper. The coach and spectators are yelling for the referee to protect the goalkeeper. What should we be doing here? Was there a foul, given exactly what was described here?
There may not have been.
Okay, so let's say there's no foul. The book referee is just going to stand there and take no action.
The question
What
is
the
also,
referee going to do here?
so when we're saying the second attacker was a step closer to the ball, than the goalkeeper, is the second attacker possibly in an offside position, and therefore interfering with play by virtue of that collision.
Well, if we go back up to our first sentence, it says they were onside.
It says, the first attacker to the teammate. The second one, again, I don't know based on the decision here, but this could be, this could be an easy call for a thinking referee. Just like we had a collision, in the, boys 18 in the center of the field. Anytime there's a collision, you can always, stop the match, check on the players, make sure, especially the goalkeeper, is a key player. And then, if everybody's okay, you drop the ball back to the goalkeeper, and game continues.
Okay, so the coaches and spectators are yelling, but you're not calling a foul.
Right. Yeah. Again, there's a collision. You say there's no foul. We stop the
Protect
match.
my keeper. Protect my keeper.
Protecting the keeper, it doesn't necessarily mean punishing the other team. We are protecting the keeper. We're checking on the players. We can tell both of them let's be careful of where we are, understand where we are, and then we drop the ball back to the goalkeeper. Okay.
So if we suspected there might be an injury, we've stopped the game, and then we're going to drop the ball to the goalkeeper. Or if it doesn't look like anybody's injured, we can let the game proceed.
The full investigator in a test that will determine how widespread the coronavirus is by testing for
Somebody's got their
that too.
coronavirus. Okay.
I had a
All right,
scenario
so
in
let's
this
say,
kind of situation.
how are you going to handle the coach and spectator? What are you going to do?
after we take care of the players, that's again, depending if it's the first time, if it's multiple times, you can cure that with a quick flyby. You can decide not to restart the match until you walk over, had a quick word with the coach, explain again your decision, what you saw and what you decided to do, and make it clear, where things should continue. Again, I think this is a matter for communication. At this point in time, not, heads are already getting warmer, so you need to do everything you can to cool things off. To me, again, my style is that this does not call for flow. This calls for, a little bit more control.
I liked what you said there, Roy. You're going to either do a flyby to settle the coach down, let him know, what you saw and was okay, or you're going to talk to them briefly, professionally. So we're going to have a brief professional discussion in some way with the coach to settle them down because they've got concerns. You need to reassure them, but you don't want to be disruptive in the game here. Everybody agree with that? Okay. Good. So let's just kind of review what we've been talking about.
In a reverse situation, kind of my last game, on a 14U game, and the Section 10 playoffs, I had the same scenario. I was like, did Cindy write this out when I was repping? No, just joking. But I had an attacker who did slip a ball by the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper basically clipped the player, took the brunt of the fourth, got hurt, and at that time, I immediately awarded a penalty kick from the spot, but then ran over to the players and immediately called both coaches out to the field to attend to the players, kind of stopping play. It was also on the cusp of us moving into the fourth quarter from the third quarter. So as time kept continuous, as coaches were attending to their players, we stopped the quarter and allowed for subs and everything to that extent. I didn't have the coach or spectators yelling. I had them maybe asking for explanation, but at the same time, when the restart happened and we went to the penalty kick, it was, everybody was understanding of what had happened. And actually, the goalkeeper made the save during the penalty kick, and the game was great. I think it was a 3-2 victory from one of the teams, but I think ultimately, I think Mike was on that game with me. We felt that it was a very fair decision. And I even went over to Mike and said, hey, making sure to get it right. But because I was so on top of the play, I felt very confident about the call. I think Cindy and Keith were also watching from the distance.
Yeah, now that you talk about that, I can remember it. So, yeah, different situation. So in that situation, clearly a foul. This situation, contact, but not a foul. And as usually happens, especially with the 14Us, the coaches and spectators are yelling that you have to protect the goalkeeper. So you're rightly not going to call a foul here, but you're going to quickly and professionally settle down the coach and spectators and check on the possible injury if there's any evidence of that. All right, good. So let's do a little quick recap here. We talked about book refereeing. Hopefully you can see through these scenarios that this is going to reduce your options. So you need to go with the spirit of the law and the fairness of the game to give yourself more options on how to handle the match. You need to be able to do what is fair in the context of this match, this game. It's the player's game. And be careful not to give players what they can't handle. Let them show you what they need. And I think in just about every one of these scenarios, you guys very astutely mentioned, you have to communicate your decisions because the best decisions can sometimes be misinterpreted if there's no communication. And don't interfere with legitimate playing tactics. Know the laws, know what is within the laws of the game and the spirit of the game and what is not. You need to know what is a foul, what is not a foul, in order to know when you're in these gray areas and to be able to handle them correctly. So I want to thank you guys for participating. We got great involvement tonight, and hopefully this gave you guys something else to do than to listen to the news about the coronavirus. And thank you. Anybody have anything else to add at this point?
Nothing except thank you, Cindy. This is really good.
That's good to stay. Good to stay fresh in the head.
Yeah, well, this is Louis. Thank you very much, Cindy, for doing this. I hope it's an offering that everyone's enjoying. This is the highest attendance we've ever had at a focus discussion, so that is great to see. In addition to thanking Cindy for preparing the lesson tonight and leading the focus discussion, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that you might not all notice. Keith Roberts is really helping out with that. He was helping keep the go-to meeting smooth. So thank you very much, Keith. And thanks to everybody who's making it smooth, because I'm sure we've all been on web meetings, more so in the recent weeks than in the past probably. We've been on meetings that don't go well. Someone's not got their mic muted and you can hear their dog barking in the background or something. You all did a great job for that. So we're going to keep trying to offer these. If there's a lesson you want, pipe up, let us know. I'm trying to rope in plenty more instructors for you all to keep things going as long as this thing keeps going. Yeah, other than that, I want to just thank everybody again. Thanks, Cindy and Keith again. And hopefully we will see you all, let's target a couple weeks for the next one. Thank you very much.